so I think it's important that you understand the clinical trial process. I'm not saying that the pill is bad. I just want you to think about how to make health decisions for yourself. You want to be especially vigilant, especially staying on top of it. Once I got the information I needed, I started to move in that direction about how to make health decisions for yourself.
In your mind, what would you say to brothers that's not vaccinated or just people in general?
I'm glad to hear you are protected, and thanks for being so honest here on Keeping It 100, because that's what we do. That's what we do. Welcome to Keeping It 100, where we have these open and honest conversations to make sure you have all the health information you need to make good health decisions. I am your host, Dr. Kristin Motley. As always, we have a good show in store for you. If you think of questions, just pop them in the chat. We will make sure they get answered. We want to bring in our very lovely, wonderful co-host, Mr. Georgie Mink Jr., the street practitioner.
Hello.
I was about to get started with the whole thing without you. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
Let me bring George in.
Right. What's up, Doc? How you doing?
Hey, Georgie. I'm okay. Today was a crazy busy day. I feel like I got a lot done, but nothing done. I don't know. How about you?
You always feel like that, Doc. I mean, you just never stop working, and that's just a hard worker. That's all. You're just so diligent. So
I don't know.
I'm great. I mean, I'm okay. Like, I mean, I'm working out here. I'm in the streets.
You went from great to okay to breathing. Like, what's really
I'm all over. I'm all over.
Orgy.
But breathing is the most important part.
Thank you, Lord.
Right.
Thank you,
I
Lord.
gotta give it up to him. I'm breathing. I'm smiling, and he gave me another minute. So let's go.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you did have a busy weekend. I know you were out at Representative Carol Kazim's grand opening. I saw pictures online. It looked like an amazing lot of people came out to support.
Wow. Major. I mean, just watching Carol go from just in the streets, marching with her, through the streets of Chester and just all throughout the Delaware County. And just to be her friend, and she actually was one of my mentors, along with Pierre. It's like about 5 of y'all. That's my mentors. Y'all just don't know.
It's a village. It is a village. Yeah, I think we have a picture of y'all at the event.
Oh, really? Okay.
Posing.
Oh, wow. We did take one though. I know I took one with John. Oh yeah. Wow.
There you go.
She looked lovely. The office is nice. Just looking forward to just getting behind it, doing great things in the community.
Yep.
And we finally got a voice inside that where we're supposed to have it at.
Nice.
Not outside. We're on the inside now.
That's important. That's important. Well, congratulations, Representative Kazim, and we're looking forward to your event in April on the Mental Health Awareness Day that she's doing at Chester High School. We'll be there. Mm-hmm. They're doing some health education and outreach there. So looking forward to supporting everything that you do any way that we can. So thanks. Thank you. So as you all know, March is Women's History Month. All our guests on the show this month are women, amazing women doing amazing things in the community. And so now we're going to move on to our moment in women's history with the street practitioner.
Yeah, and I'm proud. I'm proud for this one. We're gonna go with Miss Zulene Mayfield. Wow. I mean, it's like an honor to even honor her today. I found out a lot of interesting facts, and I'm gonna just read you out some things about her life and her legacy. Zulene Mayfield was the driving force behind Chester residents' concern for quality living and their goal to make sure that families in Chester live lives free from polluting industries. Zulene was featured in the 1976 documentary Laid to Waste, which tells the story of a waste processing facility through the eyes of the residents, local leaders, politicians, and environmental officials involved. Zulene lived next door to the largest trash incinerator in the state and fought hard to bring environmental justice to her family and all those living within the shadow of the plant. Through court testimony, letter writing, and other advocacy actions, Zulene and other members of the Chester Residents Concern for Quality Living brought to light the discriminatory practice of locating polluting industries in areas of poverty and color. Wow. Zulene believes that part of the issue of environmental justice stems from institutional racism. She was brought up in a non-prejudiced household, but found that many of the people she worked with and around did not share the same background and ideas. She worked to overcome racial biases through hard work and education. Because of Zulene's dedication to quality of life in Chester, she has received several awards, including the NAACP Sojourner Truth Award, and one from the city of Chester relating to her work on child lead poisoning issues. Wow. To learn more about environmental justice in Chester, of course, we got www.ejnet.org. But you can Google this woman, and I mean, you will get amazing facts. So it's an honor to put her in today and just have her as an amazing woman in Chester, man. Like, wow.
Absolutely. And yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc. I mean, I'm still in awe, but go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, I was just going to say how incredible it has been that she's been doing this for decades. She is not new to this. She is the definition of being true to it. It's been over 30 years and she's made so many changes. She's done a lot to prevent companies, to block stuff from happening in the city of Chester, to close stuff and to shut stuff down. I mean, the woman is a force. She is a whole entire force. And people that live in Chester, that live near Chester, who do not get engaged with the work she's doing, you should be engaged, especially if you live in or near the city. You need to understand what is happening and how it is impacting your life and your children's life. It is real. It comes up in the data. It comes up in all the research that happens, all the environmental research that has been done over the years. It has not changed. It is all these chemicals in the air, in the water, in the ground are impacting your health every single day. Every single day, you need to know what's going on. You should be involved. You should be informed. I mean, she's been fighting for over 30 years.
She's
not done. And her thing is that she wants this to be carried on because she's not going to be here forever. None of us are. And so we need our young people to get involved and to understand the issues, because if you don't understand it, then you can't do anything about it. So understand it so you can do something about it. It's the same thing with COVID and the COVID vaccines. You got to understand what's happening. Try to get the information from people that you trust so that you can make a decision on how to move, how to get vaccinated. Deciding to get vaccinated or not, but you can't make a decision based on no information. Like, you got to get the information so you can decide how to move.
Yeah, and we got to stop going along with everything. I mean, we'll fight for the worst things. Like, we'll fight for Jordans, the new Jordans coming out. We'll stand in line around the corner for the wrong things, like material things and all these things that makes no sense. We'll stand in line at the airport for hours. But things that can impact our life, things that can impact our everyday livelihood and our future, we won't stand up for. So she truly a pioneer.
It's incredible.
I mean, I already knew she was like in legacy form, but reading about her, like, we could just Google her name and these things come up instantly.
Pop. Pages of information
like
from years ago.
Parks, like, she like the Rosa Parks of Chester. So, like, seriously, like, shout out to Queen Lean. We talk every day on Facebook, and I'm proud to be her friend and proud to, have her in my circle.
Yeah.
And it was an honor to even mention her today in the Great Woman segment.
Great pick, G.
Yeah.
Great pick. Good job. And thank you, Miss Zuline, for everything you're doing for our people. We see you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go on, hop over into the health news update. Was listening to an interview recently, and some new research is coming out about how COVID impacts our health. One thing that came out was, and we kind of knew this, but it's coming out in the research even more, is that your ability to fight a COVID infection depends on the strength of your immune system. So if you prep your immune system to fight it, then you make off better. And so a part of prepping your immune system is getting the vaccine so that when you are exposed to COVID, you already have the antibodies and the protection in place to start to fight it off. And it doesn't have a chance to get all up in your body, replicate, and wreak havoc. So I thought that was interesting. One thing that came out as well was that women aged 30 to 50 can have mild symptoms, but they have a higher risk of having long COVID. We talked about long COVID and how that's when you have COVID and you clear the infection, so you are not testing positive anymore and you're not spreading it, but you're having all these long-term kind of problems that are a result of you having a COVID infection. So it could be problems that affect your sleep, your heart, your lungs, your kidney, long-standing things that are not clearing up, although the virus has cleared up. So women the age of 30 to 50 can have mild COVID symptoms, but long COVID can stick around for a long time, for especially in that age group of women. So if I was a woman age 30 to 50, which I am, I would definitely be looking for the COVID vaccine if I have not had it yet. So I am recommending women age 30 to 50, because of this new information we know, make sure you are protected against the against COVID. And of course, older adults 50 and up, men and women, if you haven't gotten the latest booster, you need to get the latest booster, because we still see that those are the people who are succumbing to COVID. It's the older adults who haven't had the latest booster. So that's that. Do you want to add anything?
It's just still important. Like, our folks, we always want to put something under the rug. We always want to act like it's a closure to something. There's no closure to COVID. So it's not going away. I still talk to people every week, and there's some people that still saying, I'm scared of it. And whatever the case may be about the vaccination, you should be more scared of getting COVID.
Absolutely.
I'm not, like, it was a time where I can see in the beginning, but we almost 3 years in. Like, it's going to help you further down. And, each year you're getting older. So you never know when you might get hit with a real bad COVID symptom and it might take you out. You got to be protected. Like, it's just that simple. We're so stubborn. It's just time for us to catch up. Again, do your research. It's there. The same way we Google everything else, the same thing we research and do all these other things, the same way we follow Facebook and Instagram and all these other things every day, we need to be doing it about our health issues. Like, COVID is still alive. It's not going nowhere. It's a part of our family. It's a part of our everyday livelihood. The vaccinations is just here to help us. So it's just that simple. It's not here to hurt us.
That's it. Yeah. Another thing I want to say about looking for information, I have to say this: you also have to be careful about where you get your information. I would not believe anything I saw on any social media platform. If you go on Google, I would only trust websites that end in .edu, because that is coming from a university, and I would trust website, the CDC's website. Anything else, I just wouldn't trust it. I would just go with any information on the .edu and any information from the CDC, because it's hard to tell who's putting up information. Anybody can make any website. So if you're not sure what website you're on, the only thing I can say is go by .edu and just go to the CDC's website, which ends in .gov. Other than that, it's hard to tell unless you are a healthcare provider or you're like always looking up health information and you know exactly where to go to find the information. Also want to encourage everyone and want you all to be mindful to be careful where you get your pills and where you go for medical treatment, especially if you leave the United States or if you go outside of the US to do this. It can be, tempting to seek care from other countries. But other countries don't always have tight health regulations like we do in the US. Plus, you have to make sure where you're going is a safe place. So we know we've all heard about the 4 who traveled to Mexico recently, so that one of them can have an affordable medical procedure. And unfortunately, only 2 of them made it home because 2 of them were killed in Mexico. And so I just want to encourage you to be careful and be cautious about where you're going for care and where you're getting your healthcare from. We have to be safe. We have to be safe. George, what you think about that story?
It was sad, and I really didn't know the full details. I know it was some type of health procedure. I want to say it was like some type of probably like body procedure or something.
I didn't see. Yeah,
probably to get something done or something enhanced. It's always cheaper in those type of countries or whatever. But I mean, again, it's just not worth it. Like until you actually do your homework. And I mean, it's unfortunate. I really didn't get the full details of the story, so I really don't have a lot of information on it. Yeah. But I know it was for a medical procedure. And I want to say it had something to do with some type of enhancement or some type of illegal, some type of physical. I'm not sure, but I don't really want to speak on it.
Yeah,
but it's just sad. Like, it's just sad. It's just sad. So, I mean, again, like you said, be mindful, be careful, especially going into other countries. I mean, you don't even really know, even though our country, like we're going through our own particular issues and gun violence and certain things, but certain countries actually live in a war every day.
Yeah.
So they live like that.
Literally.
They live in a drug cartel atmosphere. They live in anything goes. Their leadership, their government is different. I mean, we come in our government for a lot of reasons, but it's safer over here than a lot of countries. There's barbaric situations over there, and we have no idea. We visit some of these countries, and even going to places like Puerto Rico and all that. If you go outside of that tourist area, wow. So same with Jamaica and all these other places, like you would be surprised when people living in huts and all kinds of things, and you just never know. So you just got to be mindful, like especially when it's health related, and and even if the procedure would have went done, you never know if you would have died or I don't know. It's just not worth it to me. I'm just going to go with what God gave me, what he taken away. I'm just going to go with it. I already been losing my hair for a couple of years, so it's already bald. My hair fake, my face hair still grows, so I'm good. So
he giveth and he taketh away.
Right. So whatever how God want to set me up, I'm good.
That's a good place to be.
Right.
That's a good place to be. And it is so incredibly unfortunate that those people have lost their life. I don't know if they had children or anything, but it's just sad. And so today's show, we're actually talking about grief and loss. I thought it was an important topic, prior to this happening, because we experience so much loss in our lives, like every day, from breaking up in like a bad relationship or the loss of a loved one. It's just a thing that we just can't escape. And so I think what may be helpful is we know we're going to have to deal with it. So how do we prepare ourselves to get through those tough challenges? And so today's guest we brought on Donna Williams. She is no stranger to keeping it 100. She joined the show a few months ago as pediatric nurse Donna to teach us about RSV and why young kids were so at risk for having, severe disease if they caught RSV. But today she is wearing a different hat. She is coming as grief coach and grief consultant, Donna, to help us get, through these challenging times. She is a pediatric pediatric nurse. She's a grief consultant, like I mentioned, and she has years and years of decades of experience working with children and their families to navigate the challenge of grief. She is the founder and CEO of From Grief to Greatness. She's also the founder of and CEO of Parenting with a Purpose. Welcome, Donna. Do you have a book, Donna? Like, I feel like you have a book.
No, not yet.
I know you got a story, but do you have a book?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
It's coming. It's coming. So, welcome back, Donna.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, Donna? Okay.
So I just want to just start off by talking about, how did you get into grief work and why is it important to you?
It started actually back in 2014. My sister had passed away, and my sister passed away, and 2 years before that, her husband passed away. So then she had she had a total of 5 children, but the 2 youngest were 6 and 8. And as you know, when both parents are deceased, you're actually property of the state. So I adopted them, and that kind of started where the grief work started, because of course both girls had lost both of their parents within a span of 2 years. But prior to that, like, there were so many grievous experiences that I had that I didn't even know it was grief. I didn't know that was what I was going through until I started this grief journey with the girls. And one of the reasons why it's important to me, because life keeps happening, right? People die, you move away, divorce, relationships. There's so many different things that causes grief, and nobody talks about how to get past it or what to do about it. It's almost like it's kept under the rug and nobody talks about it as if it doesn't exist. So my purpose is to take people from that grief area, which sometimes could be gloom and bloom and darkness, and bring them over to greatness and brighter days.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You had mentioned the grief process that you went through with the girls. Are there stages of grief? Can you talk about the process a little bit?
I can. So, as an adult, these are, like, you hear 5 stages of grief, right? In adults, that's all we hear is, like, you have the denial, depression, all those stages. But then when you have children, those are different. It doesn't look the same, because children aren't mature enough about their emotions, their thoughts, and even their intellectual abilities, because grief changes with age. So what I did for, when I've been consulting an adult dealing grief is totally different from what I do with a child. Child, you have to, depending on the age, you have to, of course, you're going to be honest with them. You're going to talk about the most important thing is being honest at their age and what they can hold on to, what can they accept. And it's totally different. It looks totally different. I mean, you get more emotions with the children because they can't control them. You may get some wetting of the bed. You may get some, like, bad behavior, what we consider bad behavior, but they don't know how to let it out. They don't even know what to say.
Right.
I think that's a really good point that you brought up, because children unfortunately lose their parents. And when that happens, how do we support the children? I remember my friend's brother was in a car accident and his fiance passed away, and they had 3 children, and they were young children. And so, they had to deal with not having a mom. They all were 5. I think they all were less than, I think the oldest may have been in a 4th grade or something like that, but they were young. And so, what is the best way for parents, like the surviving parent, to support younger children when they have lost a parent? Or do you have any tips?
I think it varies. So for a lot of times, young children view grief as something they did wrong that caused that person to die, or they didn't do something, like, kids always blame themselves for anything. I know when I first got my girls, they're my nieces, but they were 6 and 8. When they first came to me, they wanted to die with their parents. So the first step is convincing kids to live. That's the first step, because most kids want to be with their parents, right? Whether, they've been taken away from their parents because of foster care, or their parent died, or they just separate houses. Like, most kids want to be with their parents no matter what. So when you have kids whose parents have passed away, normally they're going to say, I want to die with my parents. So the first step is talking to a child, encouraging a child why they should live. That's the first thing. And then the other thing also, I know one of the things that my girls was, when I going through this process, one of the things that they taught me is that when somebody passed away, when you see a child, the first thing immediately we say to is, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. So then you're telling that child that you did something to cause their loss. Because when we apologize, we're sorry. So we're thinking, but that doesn't help. That makes them think, okay, so what did you do? What did you do to cause the death?
Wow, that's a really good point. Never thought about that.
Yeah.
And saying that to a child.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Right. I mean, with me, when we talk about grief, it just brings up like where we are now, like in society, with a lot of kids grieving over their friends. So we're talking about kids losing their parents. We're talking about parents losing their kids, though. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I come up in an era where we basically was burying our parents, but now parents are burying their kids in high numbers. So through the gun violence and just the way things are set up in our communities now. I work in a school, and it's a little boy that walks around with a bloody hoodie from his friend that he saw got killed. Mm. So, I mean, it's deep. He walks around with it every day, and there's dry blood on it from the actual day that the boy died and he got killed. So that's his way of trying to cope or hold on to his friend. But we're talking about a sixth grader, a 12-year-old, 9, 10-year-old that's not even fully emotionally developed. That definitely is traumatized, that definitely needs therapy, grief counseling. You know, when kids experience these things at a younger age, it affects them throughout their whole life. So
absolutely. And it's so important to allow them the space to talk about it. Right. I know you guys are around the same age as me. I remember growing up, like when somebody died in our family or a friend died or something like that, nobody ever talked about it. You know, sometimes we see the parents crying, or we just see them just moving forward, don't even address the situation as if it never happened. But it's happening so often, and kids are dealing with so much that it's so important to be able to allow them to express themselves. Tell them what they're thinking. Let them tell you what they're thinking, not you telling them what you think they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think that's a good point. And I think, you know, the point that George made about young people losing their friends and how, you know, how do they cope with that? How do they deal with that? How can we support them as parents and adults around them? What strategies could you share, Donna, for the adults to do to support the children? I know you mentioned to give them space to talk and to share. Do you also recommend counseling or like group therapy, or I don't know, like something like that?
I definitely recommend personal therapy, one-on-one therapy, and also group therapy. I know with my girls, I immediately put them into group therapy. And it's interesting because it's a group of children who lost their parents. Most of them all of them actually lost one parent, but my girls had lost both parents. So we went into the group session, and it was like once a week for like 12 weeks. And it's around other kids who had lost a parent. And everybody was so, oh my God, I can't believe you lost 2 parents to the girls. But because we talked about it all the time at home, I listened to them, their emotion, they were actually able to impart in this group more than us adults were, because they've experienced death twice, and they were able to help other children. So it's so important for children to be around their peers who've dealing with the same thing, because we're not children. We were children before, raised at different times. So our thoughts, our emotions, and everything that we're seeing on social media and society, we can't teach children like children can teach children.
Yeah.
That's so true. Now, you said that you all went to group therapy. How do you find those resources? How can parents find places to go to support their children?
You can go to the government website, or one of the websites that I use for pretty much everything is children grief awareness. And this is a company who they're connected with the government, so they have all the resources. You just punch in your state, and they'll tell you. One of the places that it's actually all over, it's called Supporting Kids, and that's a group therapy that we've been to. But they're all over the state. But if you punch in your state and your city, they'll locate areas for you. Now, some states have more resources than others, but it's there for you. And even if you have to cross the line to another state, to get some resources, do what you need to do to get, children help.
I think that's a good point too. So a lot of the listeners may live in Chester or in Delaware County, which is in Pennsylvania, but close to Chester is the state of Delaware. So you can put in the state of Delaware, or you can put in New Jersey and see what may be available in South Jersey if you need to go, across the bridge to get the support that you need. It may not be far. So I think that putting in the states that are close to you is a really good strategy to find even more resources that may be available. Can you repeat the website again?
Children, I'll put it in the chat because I gotta make sure I know exactly what it is. But I think it's Children's Grief Awareness. I'm gonna look it up.
We'll make sure that it gets down there. Thanks for mentioning that. So I know we talked about losing a person, a loved one, a child, or a parent, but I want to talk about other types of grief as well. What other reasons do people reach out to you for grief support?
So believe it or not, it's such a misconception that grief is really just involved in death, like physical death. A lot of people reach out to me when they graduate high school. Kids graduate high school and have to go over to college. That's a change of scenery. You're no longer near your parents. You're expected to be an adult. That's grief. Also, death of like a family member, or a family member being sick for a long time before even they die. If you're watching a family member, whether you're a child or adult, you're watching them going through hospice and things like that. That's grieving, because then they're no longer able to do the things that they used to do. And now you may be doing those things that for them that they used to do. And then now you can't do the things for yourself that you used to do. What's up? Change of jobs, new homes, divorce, breaking of a relationship. Say a male, a couple were together maybe 10 years, right? And then so that person become a stepfather or mother to a child, right? And then that couple that relationship dissolves, and that couple is no longer together. So then where does that leave the child, or even not even just a child, just any family member that has been connected to that person, and they're no longer around. So that's, losing somebody that's not necessarily there anymore. Foster care kids who have been taken away from their parents. And even on the flip side, not even the children, but the parents who no longer have their children, they still grieve too. If you're old enough to love, you're old enough to grieve. So if you have a heart in any situation, another place that people grieve is financial security. We know with COVID, right? Everything just went haywire. So there's people reach out to me. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, or I'm having such a hard time, even trying to navigate how to work these finances. So that's all. I mean, grief, like I can go on and on, but any situation that causes you to be more discontent than you normally have been, that's a grievous situation.
I like how you put it. If you're old enough to love, or if you have the ability to love, then you have the ability to grieve, because it's like the exact opposite. I really, really like how you put that into perspective. So what are the strategies that you share when, if the loss is not related to a death or a health issue? Do you use the same strategies for people to get through, if it's a divorce or a breakup or a move?
Kind of, sort of, you kind of tweak it a little bit, depends on the age and the situation. But most of the time when we're dealing with grievous situations, it is us coming from, like I said, a doom and gloom place into a brighter place. So one of the things that I do in consulting and helping people is recognizing the situation and circumstances and pull out of there the positive from it, and allow that to catapult you to your next place. Like, one of the things that nothing's ever lost for me. And when I talk to people, situations, life keeps happening, right? There's things that we can't control. So what do we do about the things that we can't control? What is our perspective about that? How do we help ourselves navigate to another place? What is the ultimate outcome you want in your life? Do you want to be doom and gloom, or do you want to have bright days? So then we use techniques of, I usually allow people to tell me the positive in their life and things like that. So more so that it's not me telling you how I want you to feel, it's you telling me how you want to feel, and let's work towards that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's big stuff. Like you said, what I really like what you said is to find something positive. And even with dealing, like I said, like to me, like in our community now is a gun violence. Like the numbers, the kids, the age groups now, women being killed. I mean, we're talking about 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds that only been here for that little bit of time. But I always try to tell them, like, you try to do something for that memory. Like, even talking to some of the parents, like, you might start a scholarship fund. Do something to continue the legacy. Do something to prove that just because they're not going mentally. So you carry that energy, what you loved and the memories, instead of turning it and still letting grief turn you into a cold person. So, I mean, I work, one of our friends, she lost her son like a couple years back. He was a Temple, he had a scholarship for Temple. Like, he lost his life, like the graduating year that he was getting ready to go to college and all that. And I mean, I watched her like almost basically die, like literally, like she wasn't here. And my advice to her was, you know, I never really experienced that, but try to continue something in his name, like a scholarship or some type of funding, or even for kids or for parents, you know, that's going through the same things. You always want to surround yourself around people that's going through the same things. So you'll bounce that energy off of somebody. Like, you know, you might hear something in that group that, you know, you might have needed to hear, or something that they're doing to cope with, you know, your situation. You just never know. But I mean, there's no guaranteed way to handle it, but it's just certain things that you can do to combat the feelings. So pretty much everything you're saying is dead on.
I think that is so important what you said, like find a purpose, something purposeful out of their death, you know, or out of whatever grievous situation. Like find something purposeful to give new meaning to it. You know, we're no longer thinking about just the death, but how about thinking about the life they live, or what are things that they wanted to do when they were younger, or even, you know, if they wanted to be a teacher or something, help children go to school to be a teacher, you know, like create something that's memorable for that person in that situation.
Right.
And also celebrate them anytime you can. I know with the girls, like we used to feel bad around June because it happened twice, 2 years apart in June. So like our body was so bad, we would feel sick and we'd be so stressed out. So I decided we're no longer going to have a death anniversary. We're just going to celebrate their life throughout the year. We're not going to hone in. Okay, June was when they both died. But that wasn't their story. Just June they died. What did they do the whole 36 years they were living?
Right.
So that's what we tend to celebrate more.
Right. Nice.
I also wanted to just kind of go back to the support system. A lot of times, you know, we do call or we stop by to offer our condolences, particularly when a person has passed away. And do you have any suggestions for the support community on how to support people who are experiencing loss? And perhaps it's not just loss of a loved one, but loss of a job or any other type of loss that can be devastating to people. You know, how can their village be, you know, show up for them?
You said it, the kid just show up. because most people who are grieving don't know what they want. We don't know how I want this day to be. Most people who are grieving right in the smack of grief, you're living moment by moment. So you don't know what you want the next step. So a lot of times people like, is there anything I could do for you? Is there anything? And everybody says no, because you really can't think of anything. Right. So I think just being present is the most important thing. Being present. And if there are some things that you know they used to do and they like to do, invite them out to go somewhere. You know, if you know that they used to go to the movies, you know they used to go dancing or anything, start to reintroduce that in their life as a support. Is really good, because that helps them come back to a sense of, I don't really like to say normalcy, because I don't really think anything is normal, but bring them back to a sense of or restoration.
Now, how soon do you encourage people to get connected to a counselor or to like a therapist? Because usually when a person has died, and I'm talking to someone that was close to the person that passed away, I'm like, the first thing I'm like, they should, you know, be trying to get into counseling with someone. But I don't want to say that right away, because they're just, you know, their emotions are all over the place. They have a lot going on, a lot that they're trying to handle. And I'm wondering, you know, when is a good time to come back to that and, you know, to say, you know, would you be interested in counseling, or what do you think about speaking to a grief coach or grief consultant? Is there like timing around that, or like, what do you think?
I don't think there's a timing, because even if you wasn't dealing with death or anything, we all need coaches. We all need somebody to talk to on a daily basis, right? Yeah. So I think the sooner the better. It's not necessarily, express all your feelings. Why are you feeling this way? You know, it's all about talking, though. Most, you know, coaches and counselors is really about being a listening ear for someone. So I think early as possible, so that you can just deal with it better in the long term, because we know over time grief changes. So it's so important to get tapped in right away, so that you can get some understanding of the process, let you know that you're not alone and that you're not crazy.
I think it's a good point too, because I remember years ago I was talking to someone about going to grief counseling. They had lost a person, and they felt guilty about the idea of doing it, because it was like they were trying. So in their mind, it was, if I went to grief counseling, it means that I'm trying to get over this person, and it made them feel guilty, and they didn't want to do that. And so how do you coach people around that?
So a common misconception about grief is that it's something like you have to get over. That's one of the things that I talk about with a lot of people, is people always tell them, okay, you grieved enough, time is get over it. And people, again, if you love, you don't want to get over your love, right? So you want to just make sure that people get the proper perspective, is that we're not telling you to get over, we're trying to help you get through it, and not through it till there's a certain end or destination in grief, because there really is no end destination of grief. Like, you're going to remember things the rest of your life, but how do we navigate through this now? So I don't want you to get over grief, because then once you start getting over stuff, that means you're going to stop loving.
Wow.
That's a good point. Now, I know you started a parenting podcast right here on cmpradio.net. Can you tell us a little bit about the podcast? And when can we check it out?
So it's Parenting with a Purpose podcast. It's every Thursday at 7 p.m. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube, cmpradio.net. And what this is just a platform to bring in a variety of parents, a diverse group of parents, and talk about real life issues that we're dealing with now. You know, single parents, married parents, you know, parents with special needs. It's like any topic you think about parenting. But my goal is to bring the responsibility, nobility, and joy of parenting back to the parent. So many times you see when something happens to a child, the first thing they say was, where was the parents? What was going on with the parents? Without us equipping the parents to properly be able to support their children to be successful. So this podcast is trying to help people through that.
Nice.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You have so many gifts and talents and visions, and I just love to see how you just make it all happen some way, somehow, with all the children that you have in your village, your children and your sister's children and your nieces, nephews, and cousins, and everyone else. So thank you, Donna, for just being available and being a light for our community.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Donna. And thanks for coming on today. I hope you all were able to, pull at least one thing that was said today to help you through any grief process that you may be going through. As we learned, grief is not always about losing a loved one. So the information that Donna shared was very important. And if you are one that is grieving from a loss of a child, Children's Grief Awareness Day.org is a website that you can go visit for some resources and support there. Want to encourage you all, if you haven't already heard, we are going to be giving COVID vaccines, free COVID and flu vaccines this Saturday at the Marcus Hook Firehouse. We'll be there from 1 to 3. So Saturday, March 18th from 1 to 3 at the Marcus Hook Firehouse. They are going to have a bingo game. You can come play bingo, win gift cards, get your COVID and your flu shots, bring your wife and your kids and everybody out so we can get everybody up to date and make sure everybody's protected. COVID is not going anywhere, so there is no need to wait. Get the protection in while it's free, because y'all already heard with Moderna about the crank up them prices in a couple months. So get it while the getting is good. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. We will see you next week, Wednesday, 12:15, right here on cmpradio.net. Check us out, keeping it 100.
All right. Stay safe.
I'm glad to hear you are protected, and thanks for being so honest here on Keeping It 100, because that's what we do.